These things always take a moment to load. All right. Looks like we're all set. YouTube's up and running, and it seems we have plenty of folks here on the meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and call our annual meeting to order. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen for the agenda for tonight, so you guys can all see. Let me minimize here. All right. So we have our second annual virtual Zoom conference, May annual meeting. Hopefully our last one with the trends that COVID is currently showing in Florida. Thank you guys all for making it tonight. So we have a few things that we need to vote for. Of course, these meetings are free and open to the public. But for the things that we vote for, I ask that only our membership cast a vote. So we have two main items to get through. The first item is to vote and approve the 2019 and 2020 annual meeting minutes. And it's 2 years because last year, I think with the complications presented by COVID, during the time when, everything was still kind of shaken up and, the virtual platforms and everything were kind of not really honed in on by most folks. We just postponed approving the minutes for the 2019, for the year 2019. So I have both of those here with me as well. So I'd like to just quickly go through them. For 2019, meeting called to order at 7:34 p.m. Motion was made by Steve Woodmansey to approve the minutes of 2018. And then the second was by Karen Piciano. Election slates for that year: Secretary Geeta Ramsey, Treasurer Susan Walcott, and then the board at large members Steve Woodmansey, Jen Stein, and Janine Feiger. That motion to approve was by Karen Piciano as well, seconded by Martha Singleton. No old business and no new business. And then the meeting was closed at 7:37 p.m. So now that we've reviewed those minutes, if anyone has a motion to approve these 2019 minutes.
So all of this is by voice, right?
It's by, yes, it's going to be by voice. So we're going to be counting, we're just going to kind of gather yays or nays and get the kind of consensus from by voice. Is everyone able to turn on their microphones?
I want to make a clarification. This is from 2019. So
yes, we're going to vote for the 2019 and
this
2020 separately.
This was an in-person meeting.
Well, I think Patty had asked if we were going to vote on this with just by voice.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. Does anyone motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay. Can you please state your name? Sorry, I can't see you and type simultaneously.
It was Jen.
Thank you.
Seconded by Steve Woodmansey.
All right. Any discussion for approving the meeting minutes for 2019? All right, so we'll go ahead and take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against, nay. Any abstentions? And seemingly approved unanimously. Now, very quickly, we have the 2020 meeting minutes, which I will also very briefly go through. So the meeting was called to order at 7:05. We had chosen to postpone last year's meeting minutes, which we just voted to approve now. Slate presented for that year: President Brian Diaz, Vice President Steve Woodmansey, 4 director at large positions, so Jeannie Rothschilds, Joey Basna, Sana O'Sullivan, and Amy Leonard. Motion to accept was given by Patty Fairs and then seconded by Gwen Brzezicki. We had a period of time where the polls were open and people could cast their votes, and they were tallied. The final tally was 18 yeah, no opposed, and no abstentions, and meeting was adjourned at 8:01. So just like the previous one, does anyone motion to approve the 2020 minutes?
Yeah, I'll motion. This is Lydia.
All right, Lydia Cuny.
Yeah.
Any
Gwen will-
seconds?
Gwen will second, except there's a typo in there at second to the last line. It's second done dead by Steve Woodmansey.
Okay. We will amend that. Geeta, are you able to amend that from where you are? Do you have this document? Oh, actually, I can
Yeah,
do it right
no,
here, right?
I have it. I'm making a copy, calling it amended. And
Okay, so you're gonna do a separate one.
when
All right.
can you tell me again, please, what we are amending?
The next to the last line says second done dead by Steve Woodmansey and says instead of seconded.
Is
Yeah.
this 2020?
This is 2020. Yeah.
Yes.
I see that it was proposed by Patty and Gwen. I must be in the wrong one.
No, down at the bottom.
Was
It's a spelling typo.
It was a motion to close
to
the
motion to
meeting.
close, not
Yeah.
to vote the board.
Burn.
Got it. All right.
All right. So now that we have the motion, we can take it to well. Let's have discussion. If anyone has additional discussion for.
I have a
Okay.
point of clarification. I thought I was running at that time for a single year term as VP.
Yeah, I think I had actually seen that as well, and I think that is correct. It was for a 1-year term. Geeta, if you can amend that as well.
To the Vice President Steve, 1-year term, not 2?
It was just 1, yeah.
Oh, no, not that one. This one.
You had it right.
I
Well,
know,
she
but
has a separate document.
I had to write a separate one that we amended, so it's on a different document. Okay, I fixed that too.
All right, thank you.
However, now we need to vote to approve the amended version.
You have to ask that those who made a motion to accept the minutes, do they want to keep these motions with these amendments?
Okay. So for so Lydia and Gwen, would you like to with these amendments in mind, would you like to keep your motion?
No. Take back my motion.
No, I think you just.
Clarify your statement, Brian.
So with the changes that we made to kind of clarify the minutes from last year, namely changing the vice president from 2-year to 1-year term to reflect the actual time span that Steve Woodmansey served as vice president. Second change was correcting a typo at the end for adjourning the meeting. With those two changes made to the 2020 minutes, do you still retain your motion to approve?
Yeah, I approve the amended.
And I approve my I repeat my second as for the minutes as amended.
All right. So any additional discussion for this item? All right, we'll take it to a vote then. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, also seemingly approved unanimously. All right, which takes us to our second item, second and last item for the night. So election for the 2021 officer and board members. So the slate that we present is as follows. Vice President Steve Woodmansey, Secretary Lydia Cuny, Treasurer Susan Walcott, and Directors at Large Jennifer Stein, Janine Feiger, and Alan Frank. I had asked both Lydia and Alan beforehand if they could please give a brief statement, just introducing themselves, since they would be, since they are the new names from this list. Lydia, would you like to take a few seconds to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Hey everyone, it's really nice to be with you all this evening online. For work professionally, I'm a field biologist on the conservation team at Fairchild Tropical Botanic Garden.
Oh, shit.
But outside of work, I still love to volunteer in natural areas, doing butterfly surveys, or just participating in the Native Plant Society on the field trips. So
Right.
been part of the group for some time, so I'm happy to keep being a part of it. And
Thank you very much, Lydia. And Alan, would you like to quickly introduce yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Alan Frank. I'm at Florida International University. I'm the curator of the greenhouse and conservatory. I've been doing a lot of work in botany and recently in mycology, mostly in South Florida. Before, I was at University of South Florida in Tampa for about 15 years or so.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. So before anything, are there any additional nomination calls? Just as a reminder, if there are, nominees must be currently present at this meeting.
I have a question. On the previous minutes, you had put the terms for the officers being elected. What are the terms for the 4 positions currently being proposed?
Okay, yeah, I'll clarify. So for secretary, treasurer, and the 3 director at large positions, those will be 2-year terms. Steve, I'm not sure if you're signing on for
It'll be
1 year.
It's a 1-year term because the
1-year term.
president and vice president should always be balanced.
Okay. So Geeta, if you could make a note on that, since I did not add it to the agenda itself, just so that it reflects onto the minutes.
So can I ask who is president?
Yes, I'm doing that right now.
The president is me, Brian Diaz.
Okay, so you're back on the slate or you're still on it from last year?
I'm still on it from last year, so I have completed 1 of my 2 years in that term.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to accept the slate as presented. This
All
is
right.
Steve.
I'll
second the motion. Joe or Leslie? I don't know.
No, go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Joseph Montes de Oca seconds the motion.
All right. Any additional discussion for this item? So we'll go ahead and take it to a vote. So all in favor of say aye.
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 All against, nay. Any abstentions? And it seems that as well was approved unanimously. Thank you, everyone, and welcome Lydia and Alan to the board. It's great to have you guys. So that, of course, is the conclusion for the annual meeting. If anyone wants to motion to end.
It's
Motion
Jen.
to end, Jeannie Rothschild.
I'll second Jenna.
Right, you got that, Geeta?
I got it.
All right, awesome. So that concludes our annual meeting. So before we continue, I just have a couple of brief announcements, but I'd just like to take a very quick moment to give a very big thanks to both Geeta Ramsey and Amy Leonard, who are retiring from the board this year. It goes without saying that the chapter is what it is in large part to the hefty amount of time and work that both of them have put into it. It's been great working with both of them for the past 3 years personally. So if we could all if everyone could also join me to just giving them both a very big thank you, that would be great. So thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
You.
You're awesome, Dita.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, and Amy rocks too.
Where is Amy?
Not in the meeting.
Not sure.
Yeah. Yes, I don't see her.
But we appreciate her all the same.
Absolutely. Longtime friend.
All right, so that concludes everything for that. So we can go ahead and get on to the regular monthly meeting. So as always, there's a couple of announcements. There's not as, I tried to keep it very brief since we took up a bit of chunk of time there. The only two things to say pretty much are that June 22nd at 7:30 p.m. will be our next monthly meeting. Will also be a virtual Zoom presentation. The presenter will be Brittany Harris, and she will be delivering a presentation entitled Pollinator Networks in Pine Rocklands of the Lower Florida Keys. There will be a registration link soon, closer to the day, on both the newsletter and the calendar. And then secondly, the next field trip will be May 30th. So this Sunday, I believe, led by Steve Woodmansey, and that will be at Seminole Wayside Park from 9 a.m. to noon. Steve, are you still requiring that people reach out to you, or is
no? There's no more registration. You just show up.
That's fun. And then, of course, there's much more information on the Talancia newsletter, as well as the website calendar. And then lastly, I'd just like to welcome 5 new members to the chapter. So welcome to Jacqueline Bowling, Jack Hart, Christina Santoyo, Ray Schooley, and Rachel Shearing. If anyone's joining us and you're not a member, definitely check us out at our different social media, and we highly encourage you to become members. It helps us complete our mission of protecting our native plants and our native natural areas. And all our links to social media are on the right-hand side of this slide. All right, that's it for that. So we can go on to our actual presentation. So I'd like to introduce Christina
Real
Stocking.
quick, Brian, I think it should be announced. The chapter won an award at the annual conference.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Patty, you attended. Maybe you could talk about that.
Well, there's not much to say because they only said there were these 3 chapters, ours, the Lake Beautyberry and the Manatee chapters were recognized as outstanding chapters. Apparently anybody could nominate, maybe any member of the chapter, I'm not sure. And but the point was that our chapter hit the ground running with the complications of the pandemic. So someone was impressed by what you all did to keep everything active and vibrant.
Those are really, really great words to describe it. That's really awesome to hear. And I chalk it up to the people at the helm. So everyone who served on the board through COVID and helped get everything done, and also to all the membership who continue to show an interest and attend the field trips and attend the meetings and talk to each other and discuss and keep everything lively. So in my eyes, this is everyone's contributed to making that a reality. So thank you all.
And then one other thing was the Joyce and Don Gann Award went to a project in Pinellas County, right, Patty? A Floristic Inventory project?
It's not the Joyce and Don Gann Award. It's just the conservation.
What does it say?
It's just the Conservation Award.
In honor of Joyce and Don Gann.
Well, no, our donation is in honor of them, but the award was supported by other people
as well. Okay.
All right. Awesome. So I think with that, we can go ahead and get on to the presentation. Thank you guys all for being patient, and thank you, Christina, as well. So I'd like to introduce Christina Stocking from the Miami-Dade County Environmentally Endangered Lands Program. And just to give her a quick introduction, so Miami-Dade County has a program for private landowners that incentivizes preservation of endangered habitat on private property. The Environmentally Endangered Lands Covenant Program was created in 1979 as a response to the disappearing of native habitat due to urbanization. This presentation will give a general overview of the program of how Miami-Dade County utilizes preservation covenants to preserve endangered lands on private property. Topics include how properties qualify to enter the program, what the responsibilities of the property owner are during the lifetime of the covenant, and how the county helps facilitate the management of over 400 acres of native habitat on private properties. So thanks again, Christina. And I made you co-host so you're able to share your screen at your convenience, and you can take it from here.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Like Brian said, my name is Christina Stocking. I work at DERM for Miami-Dade County in the Tree and Forest Resources section. The Tree and Forest Resources section has 3 little programs, one of them being tree permitting, the other one being natural forest communities, which is the main program that I work. The Environmentally Endangered Lands Covenant Program. As Brian said, the Environmentally Endangered Lands Covenant Program, or as we like to call it, the EEL, it was established in 1979, and it was one of the ways that the county responded to a deplenish, like the canopy being deplenished at a very rapid rate. So we're gonna just jump in and get started. If any of you were at the Pine Rocklin Work Group Conference last year, a lot of this will be kind of a quick review. It's kind of the same of presentation, but I just pulled out the EEL covenant part. I don't go over tree permitting, and I don't really go over NFC except very, very little. So just give me a minute so I can get my screen going. All right. So what we're looking at here on the first screen, obviously, is a title page. In the top left-hand corner, this property in the middle of Pinecrest. So they have this great little pine rockland in their front yard, and all their neighbors have very coiffed, manic.
Christina,
you haven't seen it.
Christina, one question. I'm sorry. It seems that we're getting some feedback from your voice, and I think that might be audio on your side because everyone else is muted. It's hard to make out what you're saying.
I know. I keep seeing something. Oh, hold on, just a minute.
It might be the audio receiver on your computer. I'm not sure if you might have earphones that you could plug in or headphones.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Give me a second.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, your voice was just better just now, so.
Yeah, it might be just choppy signal. I'm not sure if it's the computer audio, the way the computer is receiving the audio, or if it's
probably
just the internet.
It's probably a little bit of the fact that I'm using my county laptop with all the county stuff. So it's probably intermittent because it goes from my connection to a different server.
Okay.
So
well,
is that better?
At the very least, now it sounds a lot better. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of turned off a couple of other things. Like sometimes when my Outlook is on, it causes it to do that.
Okay. Well, I think you're good to go. Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's okay. anyway, like I said, this is on the title page here. In the top left-hand corner is Mr. and Mrs. Moez's property in the middle of Pinecrest. They're surrounded by clothed lawns, and they have this amazing pine rockland that's super diverse. And the bottom picture is just me hanging out in a tree. I just evaluated Philip Stoddard's property over in South Miami for the EEL Covenant program just last week, and I'm happy to say he qualifies, so hopefully they decide to sign up with us. So this is Miami-Dade County prior to the great urbanization, which started in the late 1800s and just keeps barreling down the road even up until today. Prior to that, we had about 180,000 acres that was pine rockland and tropical hammock habitat. We have less than 4,000 acres remaining, and they're greatly fragmented. So just to give you an idea of the fragmentation, everybody knows this. This is the original range of the pine rockland in Miami-Dade County. The green is the pine rockland. The orange is the rest of the map. As you can see, you know, it runs from downtown down through Kendall, through Homestead, and into the Everglades. And then in 1990, this is what was predicted that was left. So you see how it's highly, highly fragmented between downtown and the Everglades. So as a result, there were three things that happened as a result of this great urbanization where everybody saw our canopy being depleted. The tree permitting program was born to regulate the canopy being removed from Miami-Dade County. The EEL Covenant program was created in 1979. And then in 1984, we had the Natural Forest Communities program come into play. As we all know, the predominant areas of development have always been at the highest elevations of the county, and pine rocklands and tropical hardwood hammocks are at those highest elevations. So to preserve and protect and manage these remaining habitats, the NFC code was written and NFC program was born in '84. So a permit is required to remove NFC. You can only remove a fraction of the NFC, and the remaining of what is left must be preserved in perpetuity in a covenant. It runs with the land. It doesn't matter who owns it. It's always there. And even if somebody else buys it or if the property is divided, that covenant still stays. We have close to 4,000 acres within Miami-Dade County that are designated as natural forest community. We have about 3,000 pine rockland acres. We have about 143 acres of transitional habitat, a little over 700 acres of hammock, and about 21 acres of scrub habitat, which is similar to pine rockland habitat, except instead of rock, it's sand. So when we're talking about EEL, there's actually two different programs within the county. There's the EEL acquisition program, which is ran by Janet Gill. It's a government program that acquires, preserves, enhances, restores, conserves, and maintains environmentally endangered lands for this and future generations. So these are all your public nature preserves, like Larry and Penny Park, Rockdale Pineland, Boys Town, the Pineland at Boys Town, and Seminole Wayside. Those are all EEL managed public lands. The EEL Covenant program, on the other hand, which is the program that I manage, is a tax incentive program for private property owners to preserve and maintain environmentally endangered lands. So when you're talking about EEL acquisition program, you're talking about public lands. And when you talk about the Covenant program, you're talking about private lands. So I have a little over 400 acres of plant communities under EEL Covenant right now. I have about 129 acres of pine rockland. It's my most plentiful of habitats, even though it shows that I have 182 acres of wetland. I only have 2 wetland properties. One of them is 175 acres. So I think it's safe to say that even though I might have quantitatively more acreage in wetlands. I have more pine rockland properties than anything. I have about 76 acres of hammock, and then I have 35 acres of what I call truly transitional habitat that could go either way at this point. They're still highly diverse, they still have a lot of diversity on the ground, but they are very, very much inundated with hardwoods. This is the great thing about the EEL Covenant program. I don't discriminate based on habitat. I can accept pine rockland, I can accept hammock, I can accept transitions, and I can accept wetland habitats. When you're talking about NFC or about tree permitting in general, we're usually talking about upland type of habitats, which are pine rocklands and your hammocks. So the EEL Covenant program, what is it exactly? As I've said 3 times now, it's a tax incentive program for private property owners. And what that means is that the private property owner decides that they have this native habitat on site and they would like to enter into this restrictive covenant. I go and evaluate this property, and if they do qualify in the covenanted area, I'm not talking about the entire property, I'm talking about just the covenanted area, which sometimes is an entire property, but most of the time it's not. They get a 90% property tax break on that part of the property. So the owners get this tax break. We get habitat that would otherwise be at risk. And it's a really great partnership between the regulatory and the private property owner, where private property owners understand that, yes, I have this really unique piece of Miami-Dade County in my yard, and instead of mowing it over and putting just sod, I'm just going to keep it and I'm going to maintain it the best that I can. It's really just amazing. So how do you qualify? I've been getting that question a lot lately, especially over the past 2 years, where people are calling me, they're emailing me, hey, how do I qualify for this? I have some native plants in my front yard. Do I qualify? And the simplest answer is, I don't know. So how do you qualify? You would submit an application, you would have the land evaluated, and if the habitat on site qualifies as NFC, it's qualified to enter the EEL Covenant program. So how do I quantify that? I have the quantitative form. The quantitative form is just, it sort of scores all the pieces of what a natural forest community would be. So it's looking at the plants, it's looking at the diversity of the plants, it's looking at the different sizes and age classes of the trees, it's looking at your site and how big it is, it's looking at wildlife habitat values, it's looking at geological features and substrate disturbance, and the coverage of exotic species. It's looking at everything as a whole, not just from tree to tree or just plant to plant, but everything. And I think that's what people are missing sometimes. They see that they have, oh, I have 7 of these plants, I must qualify. No, we're looking at everything. You've got to have the substrate, you got to have geological features, you've got to have the diversity, you've got to have rare and endangered plants. Like, you've got to have a whole habitat, and that's what we're trying to score here. So we have the presence of rare and endangered species. These can be anything from anything that's endemic, anything that's state listed, anything that's federally listed, on and on. Then we look at the overall diversity, and diversity differs from the different habitats. So just because I have over 50 species in a pine rockland doesn't mean I need to have 50 species in a hammock necessarily. So we look at the different habitats, and for a pine rockland to be highly diverse, we would want it to have 50 or more species. For hammocks, it was 20 or more, and then there's a different matrix for wetlands. We'll also look at wildlife habitat value. Do you have vegetative cover? Do you have wildlife, some kind of evidence of wildlife like scat or nest or bird activity or butterfly activity? Do you have larval plant sources? How close are you to your nearest habitat? You know, how close are you to the nearest county-owned preserve or the nearest privately owned preserve, or your proximity to water, stuff like that. Those are wildlife habitat values. Then we're looking at geological features. Is your substrate disturbed? If you are in a developed area, chances are your substrate is 100% disturbed. That means somebody has come in and either filled right on top of everything that used to be there, or they scraped everything away and put fill right on top of it. Do you have geological features? These are sinkholes. These are solution holes. These are intact pinnacle rock, just different features that we can have in our substrate. And then the coverage of exotic species. Just because you have a high level of exotic species doesn't mean that you're not going to qualify. And that's what makes a lot of people scared to even apply, because they look at all the Brazilian pepper on their properties and they think they never in a million years are they're gonna qualify. And let me tell you, I've had a lot of high coverage of exotic species, gotten into the middle, and have seen some really amazing diversity. So if you score 60 or higher, then you win, you qualify. So the covenants run for a term of 10 years. It's a voluntary covenant, and remember that. The EEL covenants are voluntary covenants, so we don't want it to run in perpetuity just in case. So they run for a period of 10 years, and every 10 years we renew them. During that time, the owner preserves and maintains the habitat per the management plan with their covenant, and I'll come to that here in just a little bit. We have yearly inspections to ensure compliance with the management plan and discuss any issues that the owners may have. I did not do yearly inspections last year because of COVID. I did a few inspections from the road and the right-of-way, but for the most part, I did no inspections last year. I relied heavily on either driving by and just making sure that everything looked okay from the outside, or I received emails from some of my owners who were concerned. This year, I am down staff. I have no partner in crime as I normally do, and so I may not get to them this year either. However, if my owners know if they want me to come, all they have to do is call or email me. At the end of 10 years, the owner can choose to renew, or they can opt out. There's no obligation to opt back in once it's expired or it's going to expire. I have about a 98% retention rate. During 2019, I had no owners that chose to opt out. I added 3 new properties in 19. Now in 20, I did have 2 owners opt out, but I added 3 new owners. So it kind of balances out. This year, I have 100% retention rate again, and I'm adding 3 new properties with 2 new owners. So my program's going to grow this year. So there's management plans that are created for the individual properties, and I create those. They're very simple, something that the layperson can very much follow very easily. Always, if anybody has any questions, they always reach out to me. They text me, they email me, they call me, they flag me down on the road, whatever. They know how to get a hold of me. Most all the properties have the same goals though. Keep your area free of exotics and monitor for native species recruitment. That's pretty much it. Like, we don't really require much of anything else. We give goals within those within the 10-year period with milestones. So like at year 3, we would want the exotic coverage to be under 10%. Now, does that always happen? Not always. Am I going to revoke your covenant because it's not? No. We're going to talk about what worked and what didn't work and see where we go from there. And again, the yearly inspections we use to verify whether management goals are being met. So this is an example of a management plan. Like I said, it's very simple. It's usually 3 pages. Sometimes it's a 3rd page, just depending on if, you know, I had a lot to write in the conclusion or if I had a lot of property information to go on. This one is for the Blocker residents. They're a really great looking pine Rocklin down here in the Redland, over on 256. That's, I think it's the entire front yard and part of their side yard. The last time I talked to him, he was fire ready. And he was actually on the schedule to have fire last year, but then, you know, COVID happened and none of the fires happened, from what I understand. We give property information, we give the present condition of the property, and then the conclusion of, you know, what kind of, you know, that what kind of condition that the covenant areas can be, that the covenant area is currently in, what it could be, and what it brings to the table. You know, does it bring connectivity to an area that doesn't otherwise have it? Is it next to it, you know, is it in an area where there's nothing and this is the only little piece that's left? It kind of gives you an idea of just how important that just that one property is. You get ecological goals, which usually are all the same: maintaining your canopy, promoting and regenerating growth of the slash pines when it's a pine Rocklin, providing suitable habitat, stuff like that. And then your management goals are again very simple: maintain for exotic species, maintaining biodiversity, try to get a prescribed burn if you're a pine Rocklin, control your hardwoods if you're a pine Rocklin, control all your crazy invasive vines if you're a hammock, because sometimes hammocks have a big problem with vines. Then you have your management techniques and your schedule, and this is where we put those milestones. Now, because the Blocker residence is pretty much at maintenance condition, they only have a year 1 to 10 schedule, and that is basically they need to keep doing what they're doing. If they were in a little bit poorer condition, then maybe they would have a 1 to 5 and a 5 to 10. Or if it's in really rough condition, or if it's a brand new property that we've never had a covenant on before, we might do from 1 to 3 years, we're going to do this. From 4 to 6 years, we're going to do this. And then from 6 to 10, we're going to do this. And again, like I said, it's mostly just about the exotics and maintaining the diversity. So our yearly inspections, they're conducted on site with or without the property owner. It's not only a time to verify compliance, but we speak with the property owners to see what's been going on in the past year, what's working, what's not working, what are solutions. Do you have plants you need identified? Do you have a cool new plant that you want to show me? I also remove exotics as I'm walking through. It's kind of a stress reliever for me. As I'm walking, I'll see them and I just start pulling them. It's one of those things that I can't help. It's automatic now, and most of my owners just laugh when they see my hands. Shortly after the inspections, we send out a follow-up letter. If they have issues, the follow-up letter will specifically state what issues they have and where they are, and invites them to ask questions whenever they need them. Sometimes our owners just want to be left alone. I have a couple of owners that want to be on a program, but they don't want us to intrude more than we have to. They want a letter. They know they can do the inspection, but other than that, they don't want any interaction. And I respect that. They just their privacy. That's it. I'm maintaining this. I'm dealing with this as a steward. You have to make sure that I'm compliant. I'm compliant. Here you go. Have a nice day. And that's the end of it. And I'm very respectful of that. But 99% of our owners, trust me, they call me. They want me there. They want us there. They want to show off. They want to know that they're doing the right thing. They have questions. Am I doing this right? I have this and I don't know what to do. So usually they want us there. So I mentioned the follow-up letter. The follow-up letter is very important. This is a Brazilian pepper vine problem spot at one of my EEL covenant properties over by Castello. This was taken in 2018, and I'm in the sort of a northwest corner of the property, kind of looking across the western perimeter, looking down towards the south. I went back the next year, standing on the exact opposite side of where I was standing the previous year, and this was the result. I sent them the follow-up letter saying, hey, you've got Brazilian pepper in this corner. You better take care of it. And that was the result. He was like, your follow-up letter told me exactly what I needed to do. Thanks. So it's, you know, some people think, oh, your letter is just another piece of the bureaucracy. And it's actually a very important piece of information for the property owner, especially a property owner who doesn't really know what they're doing. Our owners are what makes this program so successful. When I made this, I had 88 properties. I have 92 properties now. And like I said, I'm adding 3 more properties this year. I'm adding 2 hammocks, and then I'm adding a hammock with a wetland feature in it. So I'm really excited about that. The first year, the one thing I heard the most was, your program, your department does not communicate with us. The last time I saw someone from your department was 3 years ago. Or every time somebody comes out here, it's always somebody different. And I was like, I'll tell you what, I will be here next year. I will. And they're like, yeah, right. No problem. We understand. And I did. I went out there the second year and I went to every single one of them. And then I did it a third year and I went to every single one of them. And over those 3 years, everybody was just like, you say you keep coming back and you keep coming back. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. So let's fix this. What are we doing here? What is your problem? What can we do to make things better? They know that, like I said, they can call, they can email me, they can write me, they can send a carrier pigeon, you know, smoke signals, whatever, to, you know, to ask any questions that they have. I have one that actually like flagged me down on the road from his little golf cart. It was really cute. And they tell us all kinds of stuff, you know, oh, I removed this, or I saw this, or I need you to come by because I have questions. So if it wasn't for them and them making this incredible sacrifice and this incredible, you know, decision to take on this monumental task of maintaining native habitat, we wouldn't have these 400 acres. The main thing that I've seen over the past 5 years doing this is I've noticed that this program helps identify natural forest community habitat outside the natural forest community designation. So the boundaries of natural forest community are not perfect and they're not all inclusive. And this program has helped point out some places where there's native habitat, but there's no natural forest community designation, meaning there's no extra protection or regulation on properties. The duplexes on this slide, they're both within the area. They're both surrounded by the residential, as you can see from the aerial views on the bottom. Neither of these properties are designated NFC. On the right is the same one from slide. That's the Moas property in Oil Pinecrest. And then the one on the left is Gonski property, which is just west of South Miami, but east of Trinity Pineland. So it's kind of this like really neat little transitional area part, because like his front yard has more pine rockland, but his backyard is oak hammock remnant. So it's a really just kind of unique little property in the, you know, right there in South Miami. So, I mean, and then I have 2 others that are kind of in the South Miami area too. So this is, I mean, this program pointing these little places out, these little jewels that are in the middle of the urban area. I mean, we're talking about connectivity here. We're talking about butterfly stopovers and bird stopovers and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just a neat little, you know, it's just a neat little piece of Miami-Dade County. That's all I got for the EEL Covenant program. I promised myself it'd be pretty quick. Like I said, the owners of the EEL Covenant program are the ones that really make this program a success. This is a picture of me in one of the solution holes on one of the private property owners. They've got a neat little ecosystem going on in there. And I think Jennifer Posley has been through that particular solution hole looking for rare and endangered ferns. So it's just a really, really unique program that's outside the regulatory that's just I think everybody needs to know about. So if you have any questions, let me know. And that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Christina. Let me check the chat to see if anyone has any questions. So Leslie, Leslie says she had a comment. She said it would be cool to tour some of the properties where the owners would enjoy showing off.
Yeah, I have a lot of owners that like to show off. One in particular, I think everybody probably knows, is the Terry Glancy's property and his pine Rocklin. They always like to show everybody what their pine Rocklin looks like. They actually burn their pine Rocklin on their own. They're burn bosses. But I have a lot of other little properties that, like, especially my newer ones, just in the last 3 years, they found out about my program by going to a friend's house and saying, hey, this is a really cool house you just bought. And they're like, oh yeah, I got this EEL Covenant and this is how I got it. So, yeah, I would have to, Barbara, yes, Terry. So yeah, there's a handful of properties that could probably be down with giving tours. It's just a matter of trying to get them all together while we're still trying to, maneuver out of COVID. So I'm hoping maybe next year we might be able to put something together. So I'll stay tuned. I might be able to make that happen.
And we have a few questions. It seems they're trickling in now. So Gwen asks, do you have owners who just skate, i.e. do the minimum just to get the tax break?
I have a couple of owners that do that. One of them just exited the program last year. They didn't even do the minimum. They didn't do anything. But they had been with the program for so long that by the time I got there, it was one of those things where it wasn't made, the property owner wasn't forced to comply. And so we just let them write out the rest of their covenant and they didn't renew. So there's that. And there's a couple of properties that do the minimum. Some of the property, the ones that do the minimum, they have so much to do that they just keep focusing on the same area just to keep the same area going. So when we hit that property again in its 10-year time, we may shrink down their covenanted area as a result.
Okay. I had a direct message from Jeannie, but I think that was accidental because it's a question for this. Would a restored property ever qualify for the covenant program?
Yes, absolutely. I have quite a few restored properties. In fact, one of the ones I looked at, in fact, two of them I've looked at this year are quote-unquote restored properties. One of them was an old bean field, and he planted a hammock, and and made a water feature, and it's absolutely beautiful. Philip Stoddard's property is another one that was planted. So planted restorations can qualify, yes.
Okay. And I think that might answer Patty's question as well. How do you recruit property? So Christine asks, how do you recruit property owners or create awareness to maintain involvement in the program?
I do stuff like this, and which is I was looking to do more presentations outside of Durham, and then COVID hit and everybody kind of, reverted back to a hermit crab state. And now I'm starting to get back out there and starting talking to people. it's also word of mouth. A lot of these people know each other, and, you know, they say, hey, you know, your property could qualify too. So it's a lot of word of mouth from the property owners themselves. And my fiance actually works in the nursery business. People, screen is going funny again. When people have questions about native plants, when they come to the nursery and he can't answer them, he's like, call my fiance, she'll know. She works for Durham. She knows all about the native habitats. So it's just kind of a word of mouth thing. There's nothing that really like fully advertises the program, but doing it word of mouth seems to keep it perpetuating at a pretty good rate.
Okay. And then Leslie's asking, do other counties have similar programs?
No, from what I've seen, no. This particular program, we actually, it was kind of delegated to us from the state. Like the state came up and then the county decided to codify it in 1979. And nothing. Nobody else seems to have one.
It sounds like that should change, because there's plenty of great habitat that are private possession that would be great in this kind of program.
Yeah, I did 2 years ago. I did the FLARA conference up in St. Augustine. It's a Florida. It's a conference for environmental professional type of thing. I forget what the acronym completely stands for, because I don't know. Just because I'm government and supposedly government loves their acronyms, I'm just no good at them. So, but I gave it at a state level, and everybody was just like, how do I get one of these? How does my county get one of these? And I'm like, this is a piece of the state statute, and then you have to codify it, but you got to go get permission from the state. And Dade County did that in 1979, and it still sometimes blows my mind that we actually did that. I mean, you see, we the development that's going, it's gone, so, for someone at that time and back in the 70s to be kind of forward thinking is just, it just makes the program just that much more unique.
Absolutely. We have from Patty, is there help for someone with a remnant pineland but not financial means to maintain it?
At the county level, no. The money that goes into the Miami-Dade County Tree Trust Fund is for public lands and not for private lands. It could be situated to where it could be used for private lands, but they stay away from that. The Institute for Regional Conservation has a Pine Rocklin initiative, and every year they're given a grant and they go in and they help Pine Rocklin owners. So if you do have the remnant pineland on site and you're looking to restore, I would say call the IRC and get with them and see if they're able to help you out.
And that kind of plays into a question that Gwen has as well. She asked specifically for grant programs for private landowners. So I think the IRC might do that if it's a nice looking site. But
yeah, I've even had sites that weren't so nice looking that IRC has gone in and actually helped people get to a certain point. So I mean, if you've got remnant pineland on your site, or you have something that looks like that might be a pineland underneath something, give them a call and have them come out and evaluate it and see what they can help. Actual grant programs, none that I'm aware of. I know that there are certain things that you can apply for, but they usually want large tracts of land. And we're talking about properties that my biggest tract is probably 15 acres. and that's not normal. Like most of my stuff is under 5 acres and they don't like to look at anything under 5 acres. However, if I brought them all together as one and said, hey, I have 400 acres in Miami-Dade County that I need help with, then maybe then, but then I get into this conflict of I'm, a county regulator and I have these private properties and now I have this grant, and how do I manage both of these things? Can I do that? Does that create a conflict of interest, or is that something that my property owners need to band together and try to make for themselves? And those are questions that I've been trying to answer for the past couple of years.
Okay. And then the last one here on chat is from Barbara. She asks, how different is the program from the Florida Land Steward program?
The Florida Land Steward program, I don't know very much about it. I know that they have some things that they offer, but I don't think they offer the tax break that we offer private property owners. I think it's for larger tracts of land and probably pristine habitats, and I'm not sure. So I hear a bunch of things. So I really don't know, but this is locally, our program is all about Miami-Dade County and about the habitats that are in Miami-Dade County. So, it's very, very locality based.
So I'd like to add something if I could. If you look at Terry Glancy's website, he has just certified with a lot of programs. And I had shared the Florida Land Grant program with Joy Klein, my mentor and my fearless leader. I don't work for her, but she's like my BFF. And I noticed that the Glancys are enrolled in that program as well. So it could be that in order to find some funds to maintain, maybe you need to explore a lot of different programs. And you could start by looking at Tom Glancy. The Glancys have a website, a web page. I'll try to find it and share it with you guys.
I think it's like Pine Ridge Orchids Sanctuary, Orchid something or other.
Yeah.
Like that. I know that I have a couple of owners that have for years gone and looked for grants, and they're smaller properties, they're under 5 acres, and they do not the best of luck because they're always being told, you're not big enough, you're not big enough, you're not big enough. And it's like, well, it's Miami-Dade County, and we're highly going to find anything that's super huge here, And if you do, it's publicly, it's owned by the county or it's owned by the state. So there's very few large tracts of habitat that are privately owned. So I have, like I said, I have a lot of property owners that are under 5 acres. I have ones that are barely an acre, and I have some that are under an acre. And it's like, they're not going to qualify for these big state programs because they're not large tracts. But again, if they would all come together as one, and be one entity and present themselves like that, I think they would have more of a chance. But then again, how do I play into that still being, a county employee? And, it's not, I don't think it's something that I can spearhead. I think it would have to be them on, and coming together and electing someone to be their voice and going from there. And me simply just being kind of a guide if they need something. So, that's one of the things I have to be careful with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Leslie has a follow-up question too. Do we have, to one of the previous questions, do we have political clout or connections with our state reps and senators to try and duplicate this program elsewhere?
Some of them probably know better than me.
Yeah,
no.
that's a group question, not as a Christina question.
Oh, that's a group question? Oh, I thought it was a general. I'm sorry.
Yeah, general for everybody, does anybody have the clout or the connections to try to make this, I just was in Tampa and I'm just horrified by the overbuilding over there and the habitat destruction. It's bad, very bad on the West Coast.
I just want to say one thing. With all of the issues coming up with stormwater flooding and the issues with Biscayne Bay last August, big push on building low impact development and leaving space, leaving natural forest areas. There is an awakening slowly happening. Will it be enough, and what can we do in the time that we have before the planet just, implodes? But it's starting to move. And I would suggest sitting in on a lot of public meetings and making suggestions about ordinances that maybe should be put in place. And y'all don't know where I work, so forget where I work, okay?
No, that's a good point, because honestly, me working for the county, everybody always comes to me and they ask, what can you do about this? They're doing this, and our pine rockland is disappearing, or our hammocks are going to disappear, and you need to do something. And my answer to them is, I'm doing something. I'm the messenger here for the code, and I'm empowered under 2449. If you don't like it, say something to your elected official and start changing this stuff. Because I've been at the county almost 10 years, and for 10 years we've been talking about trying to get the code change on our side, and we're still talking about the same code change. Yeah. So, however, people from the outside have been able to do this. So I'm telling you, if you don't like what you see, or you're very concerned, or you're very whatever, go talk to your commissioner, go talk to your mayor, go talk to your elected official. It does work. I've seen it happen. Now, did it, are we going to be successful? I don't know. I like to hope we can be. I mean, we got a code, and it's a good start. It can be better. And so don't tell me I need to change it, because I can't. You guys need to talk to your elected officials and keep the fire burning. So
I'll echo that. We have a very responsive mayor right now. And those of you who know me know that I may know that I just retired from the county. And right after she got elected, we started getting one buck slip after another coming down from the mayor's office about issues that we'd been trying to get attention on for a while. But as a result of outside people calling the mayor and saying, this is a problem, when the buck slip comes down from above, the department directors pay attention.
She's right. Gwen's definitely right about that. So whatever, if you don't like something that you're seeing, you have to say something. They do listen. I mean, we elect them, and that might seem very, very simple in a very complicated political nation that we live in. But down here in Miami-Dade County, you say something, they'll hear it. So, and Gwen's right, we've had a lot of things that have come down as a result, so.
And then it seems there's one last question in the chat from Christine. Can you use this program as the creator of biological corridors and therefore consider them all one property?
That's my theory. That's what I'd like to do. But again, I don't think I can be the steward of that because of me being in the position that I'm in. So I know we had a private owners roundtable 3 years ago, I think, where we had a lot of the private owners of Pine Rockland come in, and it was Miami-Dade County, well, me, Durham, the state forestry came in, IRC, and then the private owners, and we all talked about what's going on with the property owners, what their biggest issues are, and how they could, what needs to be done for them. And one of the takeaways from that was you all need to come together and create one voice and tell, the people at the state that this matters and that you need help. And, I've ever since then, I've kind of looked into it. And again, because of the position that I'm in, I can't be that leader. I don't think I can, but I could definitely help support and I could definitely help guide it for sure.
All right.
SISMA. True. I've heard somebody say the same thing, Gwen, that SISMA might be a good model for that. So, that's again something everybody needs to kind of think about.
All right. Does anyone have any last minute questions? All right. Well, Christina, I'll tell you this. This was a lot of questions for one of our meetings, so it seems that it's generated a good amount of interest. And Barbara just included a link for SISMA if anyone wants to save that as well. So Christina, thank you so much for coming by today and giving your presentation. It's incredibly informative.
No, thank you guys for letting me babble about my most favoriteest part of my job. So, I do a lot of things in my position, but this is my absolute favorite, is being with the EEL Covenant program and talking about them and bragging about them. So thank you.
Well, your passion definitely shows through your presentation. So thank you so much.
Outstanding program.
Thank you all for coming by today. Always great seeing all your faces, and hope to see you guys all again on June 22nd. So with that, have a great night, everyone, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.